Hey, this is Jordan LeBlanc. I'm the lead pastor of Mosaic Church in Katyville.
And Jim Jock, the local tech guy.
We just wanted to make this video to help churches as we navigate this uncharted territory of the COVID-19 is forcing us to make changes in how we come together, forcing us to be innovative and to try some new things. And so we wanted to just share some things that we have done as far as live streaming goes, because I know a lot of churches have still not taken those first steps into doing that. So this is just something we put together to help you make those first steps too. The thing that we found is there are all kinds of different price points that you can go into. Some churches that I've known have spent thousands of dollars on equipment, but the great thing about this is that you don't have to spend a lot to be able to do a lot. And the first thing that we kind of wanted to put out there is the reality that you can start for free if you want. You can start this Sunday with no money down. By just setting up a phone on a tripod.
That's actually what we're using to record this video. Is we're using my phone. It's nothing special. It's not the latest current version, but it works fantastically.
Exactly.
So.
And you can get all kinds of different adapters, and we'll talk a bit about that as we go along. But if you wanted to today, you might just want to get a little holder for your phone, and we'll show you all of these. A little holder for your phone to put on a tripod. That might be $20 at most. You can set that up, and you can lead in worship. You can share from the scriptures. You can pray. Even the built-in equipment on most of our modern smartphones are more than enough to be able to get us started. You can add little things. There is an adapter that we have that plugs right into our soundboard. So when we amplify, it plugs into our phones, and it gives us a little more control as far as amplification. If I'm playing my guitar, or if we have a couple of singers, that way we're easily able to balance and put it through, so it's a bit more of a professional, if you were.
And we can balance, how loud the different things are. So even though we're kind of doing it pretty inexpensive, we're still able to, because we're live broadcasting, we're pulling the audio off the soundboard. We can adjust that just like we can during any service.
Yeah, anything that you can do in your soundboard, you can replicate using this adapter. And the one we're using, I think, was $45. So if you wanted to do that today, you could almost entirely get that by tomorrow from Amazon if you needed to, which is where we got that piece of equipment. Jim, why don't you talk about the equipment that we're using on a weekly basis to kind of give people an idea of what they can use if they choose to make some small investments.
Sure. And just a little bit on some of the things you can use. You can use a laptop with a built-in camera. Absolutely. And microphone. You could use, just centering it in the right spot. That's kind of in the same line as using a phone, where it's technology you already have, no additional cost, and that works okay. And honestly, you could even output the audio from the soundboard into the microphone jack of a laptop or anything like that, just like we do with different things. So you could also use a camcorder. The only issue I've found with camcorders is you can't input other audio, and most camcorders don't also have a microphone jack.
Right.
So you may be a little bit more limited to what you can do with the audio portion of whatever it is you're broadcasting, whether you're doing the whole service or just the sermon part.
Yeah, it's generally a cost to value ratio. The more you pay for a camcorder, the more features it's likely to have, the input jack being one of them.
Yep. So what we use here at Mosaic Church is we use a Mevo, and by no means are we, promoting, advertising, selling, getting a cut or anything.
We are not sponsored.
We are not sponsors, affiliates, or anything, but we are a user of it. And there are pluses and minuses, even with stuff you pay more money for.
Absolutely.
But what we're doing with a Mevo is the Mevo actually sets on a tripod right about behind that first row of chairs behind me. And the reason we did that, because we also tried it way in the back by our sound booth, and our sound booth is in a back corner. We put it up front because when you zoom in, you can only get so much resolution and clarity, and we'll talk about that when we talk about bandwidth in a minute, because obviously you want the best quality video. The audio seems to be pretty much the same either way because we're taking it right off the soundboard and we control that. So with the Mevo, the Mevo is a camera that sits up in the front. We have I think the Pro Pack with it that comes with a battery adapter that's about this tall. It's cylindrical, and it came with, what did it come with?
It came with the tripod, and it came with a storage for it as well.
Yeah, so that's what we're using. What we like is that connects by Bluetooth to an iPad that I produce with in the back of the sanctuary, and then the cable, and we're going to show you all this, don't worry. The cable plugs right into the iPad so that we can control right on the iPad the sound level, but it also lets you just take different production shots. The Mevo captures a pretty wide view of well, obviously whatever you aim it at, so we're intentional about where we set it up. But we can have presets on, like somebody who's over to the right, always like where you usually are. I have a preset there, a preset on the other musicians over on the other side, sometimes a preset in the middle where our podium is if somebody comes up to do scriptures. So they're kind of hot spots that I can tap on and the video will change to that right away. The other thing that it lets you do on the iPad is pinch and zoom. So like sometimes what happens is one of our guys will come in and he loves the front row and we love that. But then he's right in the video and he's, as large as the mosaic is on the front of the, so he's right there, and what I do is I just zoom it in so that he's just not included. So that's something that you can do live. What you do on the iPad control is live. Some of the other things that you can do is the music volume during the worship songs is louder than when you're preaching. So I can go in and I can increase either the microphone level or the output level live while we're doing that. The hard thing is you don't really know what the output level is until you go back and listen to it, like on Facebook or wherever you're sending the video. I tried using a microphone plug-in to the little device thingy that we have. I don't know what it's called, but it just didn't seem like the true sound of what's actually being sent out. So that's something that once you figure out that, it's pretty much almost a leave alone.
Yeah. Well, and it's a step up. The thing I like about Mevo, the benefit, is that it gives you some options that you would only be able to get in a solution that would be several $100 minimum more with fades, with transitions. You can go from a wide angle shot to a much more cropped shot, and it feels professional, and you don't have to invest several $100s more into it. Our setup was, I believe, $600 all in for the program, and it just gives us a lot more flexibility, and it adds to the level. The Mevo is a 4K camera that we tend to stream. Right now we're streaming in standard definition. We're going to talk a little bit about bandwidth and resolution here in just a second. But even when we upgrade, as our bandwidth comes up, we would probably do maybe 720, or if we're in a really good place, maybe 1080 high definition. But that's gives you a lot of clarity when you zoom in that you would lose if you were just doing that on a 1080 camera and you tried to zoom in. It would pixelate it and it wouldn't look quite as good. Yeah. But Mevo gives you a lot more opportunity to do that.
It does, yeah. So that's kind of some of the equipment that you can use. So we, anything from free on a cell phone to, a laptop or computer that has a camera, up to, a few $100s, several $100s even, with something that I think also works really well with a Mevo. So that's equipment. Broadcasting platforms, where to send the video, and broadband or broadcasting bandwidth. So bandwidth. We've had a lot of issues with that.
That has been a challenge.
We do have broadband cable. So there's a difference between upload and download speeds.
Yeah, what most of our churches I've found, unless you have made special arrangements with your internet service provider, is you have essentially residential internet, which has a much higher priority for your download speeds, because everybody downloads something. You're downloading web pages or music or videos. But the upload speed tends to be significantly limited. Our upload speed is advertised at 7 megabits per second. The challenge is that in order to broadcast web content at HD, at high definition, that maxes out what we have. You need about 5 or 6 to be able to do a 1080p. And that is going to be a challenge if you have residential internet, which is what most churches are able to have, and most businesses too. So if you have something like fiber or even DSL, tends to be a little closer to what they call symmetrical, so whatever your download speed is, it's the same as up. You won't have that problem, but if you have cable internet, like many of us do, we have Spectrum, and the service is reliable, but we've had to downgrade the quality to standard definition to make sure that we have reliable connection and that people aren't losing our feed.
And we graduated our way down to that. We started at 720. And we would be 10 minutes into the sermon, the first 40 minutes or whatever of music and different things went fine, and then as soon as we start the sermon, we dropped. And we were getting messages that popped up on the iPad where the production is being managed that said, slow internet, stop and lower your resolution. It's like, we're in a live service. I'm not going to stop.
All right, everyone, sit down, wait.
But then when it disconnected, then that's what we did. But and we did have some issues with not being able to reconnect to the camera from the iPad because it defaults it when the Mevo disconnects from us back here. Is that it automatically goes to widescreen. If you were zoomed in, it automatically goes to widescreen and it keeps broadcasting. But we couldn't connect to it to know if it was or do any more controls. And the only way that we found to do that was to actually go up, grab the Mevo off the tripod, and bring it back here until we could reconnect.
Power cycle it.
Power cycle it, not realizing that it was still broadcasting. So when I'm taking it off the tripod, I'm unscrewing the tripod.
Spinning it around. We need a quick release tripod is what we're saying. So I mean, there is no, as we've said, I mean, I don't know that anybody outside of investing hundreds or even thousands of dollars will tell you that there's a perfect solution. But we've found with the limitations of our internet, broadcasting in standard definition is good enough for most of us. It doesn't look bad, but there is room to grow as they roll out fiber in our area. We're fingers crossed in the next couple of months we'll be able to upgrade that. Or we just have not yet called our internet service provider to inquire about upgrading.
But even at the lower, we're at what, 320?
We're at 360 or 420,
is
something like that.
So even at the lower resolution, the audio is still, I don't really notice much difference in the audio. Of course, once we bump back up to high def, we may, but it still sounds all right. And we're still getting, God's message out through music and the word every week, mostly.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been very good. And that really brings us, I think, to the platform that we use. And what we've been choosing to do is we've been using Facebook Live from our church's page. One of the things that is attractive of Mevo is you can actually connect in the app to your Facebook and then choose the live feed through there. It's kind of an integrated solution. But regardless of what you use, it is pretty easy to connect through to Facebook Live. Facebook has a tutorial if you don't have a Mevo type solution. Whether it's using your phone and pulling up the Facebook Pages app and clicking on Go Live, or utilizing, if you're using a laptop or something, you may need to utilize a host service, but there's a free called OBS that has that's a free shareware service that allows you to connect through Facebook Live and have little things like the logo in the corner like we have for that.
So the nice thing about using your church's existing Facebook page is most of your people are probably already connected to it. Most people are probably using Facebook already, or can at least, they open Facebook and they just have to go to your page. So one thing that we do when we do the live video is we make sure that the live video post, we pin to the top. And that means that regardless of any other post that you do even after that, this will still stay up at the top. So while you're live broadcasting, you can pin that post to the top and keep it up there where it has the best chance of being seen, highest visibility.
Absolutely.
And then you can also, what we do is we also interact with the people on the page and just, engage with them because they want to feel like they're connected.
Yeah.
There may be a sickness or whatever reason that they're not there, or we've had some people, during snowstorms or even current situation where they just want to feel like they're still connected. And really that's the whole point of it is, so we want them to feel connected. So while they're interacting, if they make a comment, we want to make a comment back and just love them back.
Yeah, and the nice thing is with Facebook Live is you can add administrators or editors, people that they connect into their own Facebook, so you don't have to use a shared device. Like I could log in on my phone if I wasn't preaching, I suppose. And I could interact with people while Jim is also, or Pastor Franklin, our family ministries pastor, could all be on there. And so it just ups your level of engagement because people, especially right now, and it's very much on my heart with social distancing and quarantines and all these things, having ways for people to stay engaged and to feel like they're a part of something greater is going to be more and more important.
And Facebook also likes content that's engaging.
Yes.
So, however their algorithms work, the more you interact in things while you do your video, and it even seems the more you rather than just a static shot, I think they also, help promote things that show that it's a produced video moving around and things like that. At least
Sure seems like it.
It seems to, yeah. So other platforms.
Other platforms, the other obvious choice would be YouTube. You do have to take an extra step. We have a YouTube page for the church. You do have to go through a verification process with YouTube to enable live streaming. But once you are done that, it is, and again, it's fairly simple. You can go and schedule a live feed that will give you a URL, a web address, that you can share to your Facebook page or any of your social media. You can embed that into third-party providers. I know Life Church, based out of Oklahoma, has a church online platform that is very well featured and designed for churches that you can embed YouTube in, and it just feels a little more homey, a little more designed like there's a Bible app integrated into Church Online. And so that is churchonlineplatform.com that you can do that, and that just kind of takes your YouTube video and it kind of imports that and it just integrates it in a way that is really positive and really attractive.
And I think with especially with the YouTube video, you can also get the embed code so that you can have that on your website, whether it's on the side in a corner or a prominent position, at the top. So there is the option to even take it a next step, and once you have the video on one of those main platforms, is then share it onto another. Yes. But the important thing is to get the word out. Yeah. So what are all the different ways that we have that we could get the word out? About the location of the video.
Yeah, we include just on a weekly basis. We do put a link on our website. We have a weekly teaching portion of the website that puts an audio and video version of the message. We have a weekly e-newsletter that we call The Loop that gets emailed out and also posted to our social media. But perhaps the most important element is social media, social media, social media, social media. We always schedule the live feed because you can go ahead and schedule the live broadcast so that people can share it. You can put reminders on, and then obviously as soon as it goes live, you can encourage the people that are watching to share that video. And it is it's something that we've had people that are in attendance in person intentionally share so that their friends and family can watch remotely as well.
Text as an option?
Text is always an option. Even if you're using Facebook, Facebook is a little bit difficult if you're not signed in, if you don't have a Facebook account. But even Facebook, there are options to be able to at least watch your live video, even if you can't interact like you could. But YouTube's the same way. You can't interact on YouTube unless you have an account, and the same with Facebook. But you are able to, even though Facebook's a little bit more of a walled garden than YouTube is, the options are still there, and you can send it out through either a direct text or through any number of church texting options that we use.
So whether you do your whole service live, which I guess that's probably what I'd recommend if you decide to not have in-person service, is probably to do that. I know some churches now just do the sermon part, which is, you know, it depends on each individual church which is best for them. So that is it. Hopefully, in the short run, is a way to make up for us not being able to be here, all of us together. The other reality is that churches depend on the faithful giving of everybody who comes to support the operations and keep the lights on and things like that. So talk a little bit about some of the options that you looked at before we started an online giving.
Sure. We give we have the option of giving online. In fact, I give my tithe digitally just out of convenience. I don't know that I have a checkbook. I have a checkbook somewhere. I haven't written a check in a couple years now. But we use it's called Planning Center. It's a fully featured service that gives us a people tracker, service planner, and giving modules, but it is piecemeal. So you can choose, like we choose what we want and then how much we need of it. So we have, I think, 100 donors that we can receive donations from on this tier. It's like $18 a month. There are literally probably as many as you can think of as far as websites. There's a site called Tithely. There's a site called Church Teams. I'm not even going to pretend like I can think of them all. Subsplash, I know, is one. And there are varying benefits and drawbacks to each. There's always a cost, whether it's some of them that cost more to you up front will mean that there is more of the donation each week that you get. Others are a little less upfront, but there's a processing fee. Why I like Planning Center is it's a bit of a combination of both. When you have a donation given using your routing number and checking number, there's a minimal cost. It's a quarter, I believe, per transaction. That is practically no cost. You get almost all of the donation. Whereas if you do use a credit card, there is a higher, I believe it's 1.9%, that you do have to pay the processor called Stripe in that.
But what's nice about the software that we're using, planningcenter.com, is our tellers can use that for doing the work that they do when they count the money and prepare the deposit. So they can actually use the Planning Center to come up with the totals and match, whatever it is they do when they do that. Yeah,
it's become an all-in-one solution for our giving, at least. Obviously, our bookkeeping, it has to be separate. It's not as fully featured as perhaps it could be. But as far as counting and documenting, that's worked for us. Obviously, what you choose to do is less of an important decision as it is making sure that people know how, getting the word out. Again, there is a prominent link on our website. The first thing you see in the navigation, one of the primary options is donate online. what we are trying to do, especially as we go more and more digital, is including a link in the description of every video that we put. As strange as it may be to say, if you go and watch a YouTube video that is produced for YouTube, at the end of most of these videos, they'll say, make sure to like and share this video. And a lot of them have ways to support financially, whether it's through Patreon or buying merchandise. And it seems foreign to pastors and to church people, but making people aware of how they can support what you're doing, because even though we are not a business, we are in the business of making eternal impacts for Christ. And when people see the value and people understand the need, they're able to go and to do that.
I think another thing with the giving important too is to maybe let some people know, if you want to mail in a check, here's the address to do that. While it might seem like, well, everybody knows our address, well, we have a P.O. box. So they might not know our P.O. box. I don't know. It might be on the bulletin. I'm not sure. But
I'm not sure.
But I think just pointing that out just shows the people who tend to give by check anyway that they can still do that. I understand not everybody feels comfortable going online with a credit card or bank information or whatever. So that would be my recommendation, is just, respect the options on how somebody wants to give. I mean, if they want to come in with a bag of cash and drop it off, we'll certainly meet them here. I mean, whatever, but
I live a quarter mile down the road. If you have a bag of cash you want to leave, just give me a call.
So, but respecting their preferences.
Absolutely. So. And it's something that's so important to me with all of these things, whether it's the equipment to get in there, to knowing the steps on how to do this and providing these digital options. Many of us, we are in this position not by our own design. This isn't a decision that we are making, but I have found that as we are limited as humans, we have the opportunity to be innovative. And while many of our churches tend to be behind the times technologically, even though we are by many metrics ahead of the curve for churches, we're still significantly behind the world at large with what we do in technology. And I think this is a really fantastic opportunity for us as the body of Christ to enter the 21st century finally, and to say we are committed to getting the message of Christ out digitally, to doing this as best as we can, and to produce the content that we work so hard on. I know if you're a pastor that preaches weekly, I know how much effort you put into your sermons each week. I know how much time you spend in the Word and in prayer and just meeting with people and hearing their heart and sharing your own. This can, if we leverage it correctly, this can have the potential to exponentially grow the reach that we have. And in the season that we're in, where people are desperate for hope, we have the ultimate hope we can offer to people in the person of Jesus Christ. And what better way to do that than to do these things, and what better time than now?
So we're gonna pause, and we're gonna actually show you what some of the equipment looks like, just so you get a better idea. The other thing that I'll throw out is, if you're a church that's local to Clinton County, New York, and you need help doing this, or you want someone just to look at it and help you out, I'll be glad to help. Just contact us through Facebook page or however you're watching this video, and I'd be glad to come and help you figure it out.
And I would even add, just personally, because I guess I probably have a little more flexibility than Jim here. I mean, even if you're within a couple hours, I'm willing to either meet you halfway or come to your church. We can figure it out. This is too important to leave you up to swim alone. We need to stand together, perhaps now more than ever. So I'm more than willing to coach you. We can either, whether it's video conference, over the phone, or we can meet up in person. So please just let us know. So here's the very basic tripod that I have. There are the notes that we had to make sure we covered things. This is the phone adapter here. So my cell phone was sitting right here
facing this way, and that is as easy as that is. I don't even know how much I paid for this tripod. I've had it so long, but this is the basic adapter that holds your phone. Simple and easy. So this is the soundboard that we use here at Mosaic Church. And what I want to show you is how we connect in the audio off the board that goes right into the iPad that we use to produce the video. So I'm just going to flip it around here real quick. So what we do is we've plugged into auxiliary outputs, auxiliary send in this case with this board. It's number 3. So that number 3 goes through this. It's actually a guitar interface, and then this plugs into the iPad, and it has a battery in it and some basic controls. And all we really do is that first part on the left where it says off, guitar, and mic. Don't do that, then go the sound system into it. It just takes the iPad microphone. So without this device and powered on, it uses the iPad microphone, which, guess how we found that out? Okay, so that's how we, let me flip it around again. So that's how we output to auxiliary send 3 in this case. So what that means is that for all of our channels here, all we would do, like the piano, and coming up here to number 3, and you'll see all the way to the left that that's our live. All we do is adjust that to how much output we want for it to go to the live feed. And again, that can be adjusted for every channel across the board to control the sound that's being sent to the live broadcast. And this is the Mevo. It's being charged because we're getting ready to use it. And then that sits on, it's kind of the battery pack, but it also has, if you have the ability to plug Cat 5 into it, you can do that. And I think, I'm not sure what the USB is used for, but we're charging it right now. I think it's actually charged. But those two pieces go together, and then that goes on this stand that came with it. There was also a shorter stand that came with it as well, but this is the one we use. And the top of it is it's just a typical, like you would see for a camera or whatever, that just screws into the bottom of the Mevo, just like pretty much any adapter would. So you don't necessarily have to get this stand. You could also get a stand. Use any tripod that you have would probably work with the Mevo.